This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. And we are back again with another preview podcast. It is World Cup qualifiers time. As you probably know, we've got Hungary away Thursday the 2nd of September, Andorra at home Sunday the 5th, and then Poland in Warsaw on Wednesday the 8th. All of them going to be shown on ITV in England here, which is where we'll be watching all the games from. As sadly, from a supporter's point of view, once again, we are grounded and not being given access to watching the team live in the stadium on foreign shores. Now, this isn't just against English fans, following a FIFA come UEFA statement. This applies across the board for all away fans. It's a shame though, as many of us will have been looking forward to both of these, paid for them too. It does feel a little strange when it appears we are able to travel to both, because as at the time of recording, both are amber on the UK's destination list. Sure, both of them require you to look into seeing whether you fit their requirements, as it were, but both are accessible, and equally frustrating was the fact that some spectator sports have been allowing fans in to that sport or event. But neither of these games have been put on the acceptable list. It remains to be seen what way Andorra will be on the 9th of October and San Marino on the 15th of November. What way will they go? From a personal point of view, I don't think I'll be holding my breath. I hope you enjoyed the recent episodes. We had the one where I chatted with Richard Weeks from the England Supporters Club, who told us what it was like arranging tickets for fans during the Euros in the summer. And then we had the episode where I spoke with Dave Bowler. He's author of the biography of Sir Alf Ramsey. Both are still available to listen to at threelionspodcast.com or your chosen podcast provider. Now, coming up on this episode, I'll be speaking with some correspondents from our World Cup opponents. But first, let's just remind ourselves what happened in the first 3 match days of the World Cup qualifiers, which took place in March this year in Group I. I think you'd be excused for perhaps forgetting what happened, what with everything that happened in the summer, and the fact that, again, we had to watch all 3 games on the TV. That began with a 5-0 win over San Marino. James Ward-Prowse scoring his first England goal.
Here's Chilwell, here's James Ward-Prowse, and they have their first. A first they will hope of many. And James Ward-Prowse has a first goal in an England jersey as well.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin grabbed a brace. Raheem Sterling got on the score sheet, as did Ollie Watkins, who scored on his debut after coming on as a substitute.
Lingard. This is Foden. Hits out Watkins. Brilliant. What a way to cap your debut. For Ollie Watkins, that will mean the world.
We then travelled to Tirana, Albania, where Harry Kane and Mason Mount scored in each half to register a 2-0 win.
Shaw, decent delivery. Kane! How about that? Well, he has missed that feeling. England have missed that ruthlessness. 500 days since his last England goal. Harry Kane is an England scorer again. Sterling onto Mount. Mount to finish it. That will do nicely. England more clinical tonight. Chances have been few and far between, but when they have presented themselves, they have taken them. And they have a 2-goal lead in Tirana.
Then Poland came to Wembley, and again, it was Harry Kane from the spot.
And a penalty has been given. Raheem Sterling, who's a big winner of penalties in the Premier League. It's a short approach from Kane, and he drives it in. He got the elevation, and that's what did the goalkeeper. Sterling fouled, Kane scores, England 1, Poland 0.
Poland equalised before Harry Maguire got the winner with 5 minutes left.
Kane and Maguire poised, the two likely lads. Oh, it's in from Harry Maguire. He was a likely lad.
It left us top of Group I with 9 points, Hungary second with 7, Albania third, 6 points, Poland in fourth on 4 points, and Andorra and San Marino fifth and sixth with no points each, obviously yet to play each other. Although that does change on the 2nd of September when Andorra host San Marino. Personally, I think this window for England will define whether we top the group or have to go through a playoff. Both Hungary and Poland in their own stadiums with no England fans clearly be tough. Those playoffs appear to be a convoluted set of games pencilled in for March next year, so not something we really want to experience.
Thursday the 26th of August saw Gareth Southgate announce his latest squad for this international window against Hungary, Andorra and Poland. And I always think this squad is a strange one to select because players and clubs would have only played, 3-4 games since the season began. But he's selected 25 players, and that's one less than the 26 for the Euros. I don't quite know how this is all going to work out because generally it was 23 players. But anyway, there's no Danny Ings, no Aaron Ramsdale, who's of course recently transferred to Arsenal, no Ollie Watkins, Tammy Abraham, who has just moved to Roma. He's not been selected. Of course, Marcus Rashford is recovering from shoulder surgery. Phil Foden has foot injury, which meant he's missed Man City's opening games. And perhaps Mason Greenwood can, maybe consider himself a little hard done by. But anyway, 25 players. Let's roll through them. Goalkeepers, 3 of them. Jordan Pickford of Everton, of course, one of England's star performers during the summer. 38 caps he's accumulated. Sam Johnston of West Bromwich Albion, Nick Pope of Burnley. Defenders, Trent Alexander-Arnold is back, of course, after missing the Euros. He got injured in one of those games up at Middlesbrough. Was it against Austria or Romania? One of the two. Conor Cody of Wolves, Reece James, Chelsea. Harry Maguire of Manchester United, Tyrone Mings, Aston Villa, Luke Shaw of Manchester United, of course, England's last goal scorer, that goal in the final. John Stones of Manchester City, 49 caps for Stones. Kieran Trippier of Atletico Madrid, Kyle Walker of Manchester City. In the midfield, Jude Bellingham of Borussia Dortmund, Jordan Henderson of Liverpool. Can he add to that one goal that he scored in Rome against Ukraine? Mason Mount of Chelsea. He's actually got 21 caps to his name. Calvin Phillips of Leeds. Jesse Lingard of Manchester United has returned there after being on loan at West Ham. And speaking of West Ham, Declan Rice is in as well. And up front, Gareth has selected Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who started well for Everton. Jack Grealish, of course, now of Manchester City, and very much so after he scored following his £100 million move from Aston Villa. Harry Kane, of course, England captain and from Tottenham. You may have seen I mentioned on Twitter. Be interesting to see just how much he takes part. As of the squad announcement, he'd only played 18 minutes for Spurs so far. I doubt he'll play against Andorra in the same way that Gareth pulled him from the San Marino game. But he'll be looking to add to his 38 England goals. Now this, perhaps not a surprise, but more, yes, finally it's happened. Patrick Bamford of Leeds United. I guess could say he narrowly missed out on a place in the squad that played up at Middlesbrough before the Euros. He's obviously done very well, fully deserved the call-up. Hopefully he can grasp it with both hands and participate in one or two of the games. He's actually got 2 caps for the under-18s, 2 for the under-19s and 2 for the under-21s. He did actually play for the Republic of Ireland under-18s once, and he gained that through his Irish grandparents. Bukayo Saka of Arsenal, 9 caps for him. He's been cheered wherever he went when playing for Arsenal. Jadon Sancho of Manchester United. And Raheem Sterling of Manchester City, 68 caps to his name, means he is the most experienced England player in this squad. There is a total of 623 caps. It's quite amazing how the amount of caps have increased, what with the 7 games played in the Euros for many players. But on the club side front, the squad is made up from 4 from Manchester City, 4 from Manchester United, 2 from Liverpool, Leeds, Everton and Chelsea, and 1 from Wolves, Villa, Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, West Ham, West Brom, Burnley, Arsenal and Tottenham. It's a nice spread across clubs there. Although it's surprising or maybe unusual to see Spurs only represented once. Of course, in the recent past, they've had a fair few players selected, if you think. Dele Alli, Winks, Dyer, Rose as well. But yeah, it is what it is. So that is the squad that will take on Hungary, San Marino and Poland. And I'm sure, no doubt, there'll be a few players that pull out of that, as tends to often be the case. Now, before we connect with this episode's guests, I'd just like to bring to your attention a project organised by the guys at Block 109. They are crowdfunding for a large surfer banner to be shown before the Andorra game at Wembley. The aim is to have this passed over fans' heads pre-game, and the banner focuses on our brave players who missed their penalties in that European Championship final and then subsequently received horrendous abuse for it. This is unacceptable in any way, shape or form, and this banner is our way of fans showing that we are fully behind them. And I'm pleased to say that I've managed to get the podcast logo on it too, and it goes alongside various other independent England supporter groups. However, these surfer banners don't come cheap. So the guys, they are crowdfunding for it, and you can help too by contributing any amount you feel you'd like to. Just head to justgiving.com and search England Block 109, or head to @EnglandBlock109 on Twitter, or you can find it on the Three Lions podcast page on Twitter. All the links, all the details are there. And as I say, it can be as little or as much as you'd like to give. Cost of a pint, maybe. Up to you.
Then let's start with Hungary as we face them in Budapest Thursday the 2nd of September, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome back to the Three Lions podcast. We spoke with him a little while back when the draw was made. Tomasz Mortimer from HungarianFootball.com. Tomasz, you all right?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Hungary are England's first opponents in this World Cup qualifiers. Obviously, we've had the Euros in between those first round of World Cup qualifiers, which Hungary actually found themselves in second place at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, and I'm a little bit disappointed, as part of me that's disappointed that they're not quite level with England, actually. Not got 3 wins from 3. We obviously beat the teams we were expected to beat in Andorra and San Marino. If we hadn't, we'd been in real trouble. And we drew to Poland at home, but we were 2-0 up in that game and 3-2 up before Lewandowski equalised with about 5 minutes to go. And Hungary were by far the better team in that game, so it was kind of disappointing to draw. But it's still, we'd have probably taken 7 points from 9 going into those 3 games, so you can't complain too much.
Yeah, and I think probably that momentum, I guess, took you into the Euros, really, where, okay, Hungary finished bottom in the, I don't know, was it referred to as like the group of death over there, or?
Yeah.
But I mean, it certainly held their own after, was it a loss to Portugal and 2 draws? It could have been Hungary that England played rather than Germany.
Yeah, there was a stage for about 20 minutes or so, maybe even longer, that Hungary were supposed to play England. It was when Germany were winning. I think France were also beating. Hungary were beating Germany, and France were beating Portugal. And yeah, it was all being made to look like Hungary were about to play England. A lot of my friends were texting me and stuff, like my English mates, and yeah, it was kind of chaos. But yeah, we eventually did go out. But like you say, it's true. We did take the momentum from those 3 games, where especially the Poland game, where we were really, really good, and took that into the summer, where we were going into that tournament with a lot of confidence, despite the teams that we were playing against. Obviously, most people outside of Hungary expected Hungary to be completely the whipping boys and get 0 points from that group. But we obviously caused France a lot of problems, went 1-0 up against them, went up against Germany twice, 1-0 and 2-1, before they equalised, and then were holding onto the ball in the corner at home, drawing 2-2. Like, I mean, obviously it's logical to do that, but the fact that Hungary actually got Germany into a position where they had to waste time when they were drawing was just amazing, to be honest. So yeah, Hungary right now have got all the confidence in the world. Like you say, despite going out in the group with 2 points, we couldn't have really asked for much more, to be honest.
No, the scenes that we saw on the TV back here of it's the new Puskás Arena, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It looked rocking, really. I mean, did you get a chance to go in there?
Unfortunately not, because I'm based in the UK, so I couldn't get over there. I bought my flights and everything, but it's just couldn't get there, which is really annoying. But yeah, I think it'll be the same for this England game. I think this game will be treated exactly the same way by the fans. It'll feel like another Euros game, to be honest. Like I think probably said on the last time I was on here, like Hungary don't play England very often, especially in competitive games. So, and obviously English football is loved and hated probably in equal measure in Hungary. Like there's that rivalry that every team seems to have with England. Like everyone kind of wants to beat England, I guess, because of the home of football and the creators of the game and stuff. And that feeling is definitely going to be there. So the atmosphere that you saw in the Euros will definitely be almost exactly the same for this game. It's going to feel, like I say, almost like another Euros game. Yeah.
I mean, especially as the fact that no away supporters are allowed into the stadium. I mean, it's as I've said. I mean, this is where England will find out whether they're going to win this group or go through the playoffs. I think these 2 games, Hungary and Poland for England, will show that. And without away fans and the support that Hungary have got in that stadium, I think it's going to be a very hard game. Yeah, you mentioned like games with Hungary don't come around too often. The last time we played together was, say, 2010 friendly. There's been 22 games over the years. England have won 15. There's been 2 draws and 5 losses. And I think, as we mentioned previously, there's a couple of spectacular results, I think is probably the best way of saying it. I mean, it goes back to the 50s when Hungary beat England by, was it 7-1 and 6-3, I think. And they were known as the Mighty Magyars. What do you know about that? Go on, tell us a bit about that. It's a little history lesson. Okay, so starting right back from when Hungarian football came to be in the early 1900s, it was actually obviously, like most football around the world, it was kind of brought to them by the English, by the British, and when English teams, I can remember Man United, I can't remember it. I remember reading about Man United going over there to play against Ferencváros, who are Hungary's biggest team now, and battering them about 8-0 in about 1908. Yeah. And the scenes there were absolutely chaotic, like almost in some kind of similar way to what a Ferencváros game will be now, like really vociferous, really crazy. And there's like quotes from the Man United manager at the time saying, "We're lucky to get out of there alive," and like apparently they were chased down the tunnel and stuff, and it was crazy. But Hungary didn't really get, like, it was basic football when these English ties were going over, and
Hungary were playing against foreign teams. But in the kind of the 20s and 30s, that kind of developed again by another Englishman, a guy called Jimmy Hogan, who was castigated by English football because of he was a bit of an outspoken character, and he had a kind of desires of how he wanted to play the game. I think, by my understanding at the time, English football was a lot to do with like dribbling with the ball, whereas he had desires to play a passing football, and he kind of taught that in one of the places where he found a home after that kind of journeying around Europe was first Austria, and he helped create their amazing team that they called the Wunder team, which I think is in the 20s, 30s. And then he moved on to Hungary to go to NK Budapest, who are still in the top flight now, our second most illustrious club behind Fenerbahce. And the club and the football that he created basically spawned a rejuvenation, kind of a birth, I guess, of quality Hungarian football. And they just kept developing that style of football until it culminated with the mighty Magyars of the 50s. And the reason why Hungary battered England twice was because England was still playing a very basic form of football in the 50s, whereas Hungary, through an Englishman, had basically created a new style, a new philosophy, which, again, like I say, culminated in England being battered, but also later led on to the team of Johan Cruyff and Ajax and Holland and total football. Essentially, that football was very much styled on the mighty Magyars, and then Cruyff obviously kind of was the grandfather, I think they call him, of Barcelona and Pep Guardiola style of football. So it can almost be traced back from Jimmy Hogan, what he did, an Englishman, to Hungary's team in the 50s, and then from there. And the style of football was like I say, completely different to what anyone had really seen before. It was passive football, but it was interchanges, like the players weren't playing in fixed positions. Even now, it kind of does seem a little bit revolutionary in aspects. They played a 2-3-5, which sounds like crazy because why would you play two at the back? But that was still kind of like a little bit defensive in what they used to play. And we used to have, Hungary had Nandor Hedeguti, he was basically a false nine. So in the 5, he was in the middle, the centre forward, but he would drop deep, and England just didn't know how to cope with him. And yeah, so that's kind of a brief history lesson. And a lot of English players from the time, I remember Jimmy Armfield about 5 or so years ago when speaking about the Hungary team, because I think he was either on the bench or he played, was just saying they were like from another planet. And Billy Wright, I think, played that day, Stanley Matthews. It was obviously a very good England team. It's just that the way that they were playing the football at the time was just not comparable to the way Hungary were playing, and that's why they were so good.
No, nice one. It was 6-3 and 7-1, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't envisage a score like that coming up in the World Cup qualifiers. But I mean, what do you feel?
It's hard to say. I think if you'd have asked me about 3 days after that Germany game in the Euros, I'd have been saying, "Oh, we're going to win." But I wouldn't be surprised at a draw, to be honest. I feel like England are going to have a little bit of a hangover because they've just played, obviously, an amazing tournament and ended up losing in the final. How much are they really going to be up for playing a game, a World Cup qualifier after that, especially if the Premier League just started and stuff? I just feel like the motivation from England's not going to be quite the same, whereas Hungary, in front of that crowd, which is going to be very similar to the Euros, these players, like very lesser players, like Adam Nagy just barely played at Bristol. He's probably going to play like one game for Bristol City before this game, so it's a massive game. Laszlo Kleinheiser was awesome in the Euros. He's been playing now in the Croatian League, and these players who were playing on a massive stage have just gone back to their clubs where it's not really exciting. Whereas at least with England, they've got the Premier League and loads of crowds and stuff, and like going away on international duty is not always thought a lot of people just go, oh, it's the international break. And I imagine probably some of the England players might think the same as well. And that's what I'm hoping anyway, from a Hungarian perspective, that the motivation from England's going to be a little bit lessened and very much heightened from a Hungarian perspective. And I think that's why Hungary stand a chance in this game. On paper, there's no debate, but motivation-wise, I think, could be a shock.
Yeah, no, valid points. Go on, just quickly tell us about HungarianFootball.com and various social media side of things we can find you on.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Tomasz Mortimer, which is without H and with a Z on Tomasz. HungarianFootball.com, and also we have a podcast on Hungarian Football Podcast, which you can just find on Google.
Nice one. Well, thanks for your time, and yeah, let's catch up when the return leg comes around at Wembley.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Nice one. Cheers, Tom. Well, okay, so Sunday the 5th of September, England entertain Andorra at Wembley. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the Three Lions podcast. He is the most capped Andorran player, 130 caps, 11 goals, central defender, Ildefons Lima Solà. Welcome to the Three Lions podcast, Ildefons.
Hi, nice to talk with you.
Thank you very much for giving us a bit of your time.
As I told you first of the interview, I usually talk with people around the world about Andorra because they have to know what is Andorra, and when they talk about Andorra, they have to know our reality, and it's easy to talk and to believe and to understand everything about us.
Oh, well, let's learn a little bit more. As I say, yourself, you're the most capped Andorran player with 130 caps.
Yeah, I started early in 1997. I played my first game against Estonia, and
you scored as well, didn't you?
Yeah, but it was my first game and my first goal, and we lose, obviously, because for Andorra, I think it was the second official game that we played, because the first game of Andorra was in 1996. Yeah. Against Estonia in Andorra, and 1 year later we went to Estonia and played the second game. It was my first game because I was 17, and until today I'm still playing. I'm trying to enjoy my job.
So, I mean, how did the Andorran national team come about? Maybe so late, or
we evolved like everything in the world. You can imagine football 25 years ago, it was different. Now you know everything about the opponents, everything about the stadiums. The first game was in a small island of Estonia called Kuressaare. We didn't know where was Kuressaare. We didn't know anything about Estonia. We don't know the players. Now you know everything. You are going to play against San Marino or England. You know everything of both teams. Everything develops very quickly. It was very different. It was, I think, 25 years ago, it was a lovely football because it was something like a spirit different. You go to places you didn't know. Obviously, internet didn't exist 25 years ago. Was difficult to find any information about everything. Now, the players of the national teams, the under national teams, played against other national teams like England, like Spain. They have experience. When we started to play, I thought for me was my first game was the second game of the history of our national team. We are, you don't know, when a lot of years ago, a man discovered America. He didn't know that America was there. We started to play and we didn't know anything. Now you know everything. It's everything. It's easier.
Do you think it was better back then?
I think it was different, but I have a nice memories of this travel because you discover a lot of things. Now if you go to Estonia, you know everything. But 25 years ago, it was as accepted. I'm talking about Estonia because it was the first one, but it was a country that left Russia 6-7 years ago. It was a poor country. you have to go there to believe and to understand the reality. Now it's easy to you search through YouTube.
You say you played in Andorra's second ever game, which was back in June 97. Games came and went, and then 2008, we'll bring it up to England's speed, as it were, was the first time that you faced England yourself in September 2008 in a World Cup qualifier. Where England won 2-0 thanks to 2 Joe Cole goals.
Yeah, I remember it was the first game of Fabio Capello, the Italian coach. I remember that I was there, and he was the coach of one of my teammates in Italy. I talked with Fabio a few words before the game. It was very nicely. And it was a nice memory because we played in Barcelona in the Olympic Stadium. England just won 2-0. And for us, obviously, it was a good result. I think that the team had a lot of critics because obviously win 2-0 against Andorra is a very short score. But it was the first game of Fabio, and for me it was a nice game. I was lucky to play against Beckham, against Lampard, against Terry, Rooney. Nice memories. And
playing against all those England legends, I'm trying to think. I went to England have played Andorra 4 times, obviously twice at home, twice away. I went to both of the away games in Barcelona. One of them was a really wet game. It was in the rain. I don't think it was this one, but I think this one was dry in Barcelona. What was it like having to play in Barcelona in the stadium there? Because now obviously Andorra play in Andorra.
Now we can play in Andorra because we have a new stadium. It's not the best stadium of the world, but a new stadium, and now we can play here. But a few years ago, when we have to play against big national teams, we left Andorra to go to Barcelona. We played in Barcelona against Netherlands, against England, against Ireland, because of the other teams. And now, fortunately for us, we don't have to go outside of our country to play this kind of games, because I think it's a party for a country like Andorra.
Yeah. Moving on to the away game in that World Cup campaign, when you came to Wembley, what was it like coming to Wembley? And was that was the first time that you'd been there, was it?
It was my first time at Wembley. I remember the game that we played at Wembley because it was the last season game. And I go with the family. We stay a few days in London. And it was the last game of the career as a football player of Tony Lima. That is my brother. We play a lot of games together in the national team. Now works for Arsenal because he is a scout. Play, I think, 65, 66 games with the national team. And I remember it was the last game. We lose 5-0, and an amazing game for England because, played Beckham, Lampard, Rooney, Gerrard, the best English players. Now they are called legends. They played that game, and was a difficult game for us. But as a player, has the lucky to play in Wembley was amazing for me, and I believe I have the shirt of the game of John Terry. I have the tickets. I have everything about the game. I got the ball of the game. A lot of amazing memories for the future. I can say it's one of the temples of the football world. Wembley. Everybody knows where is Wembley. What's Wembley? And for a football player, I think it's one of the best stadiums to play because the history of that stadium is amazing. Now it's a new stadium, but it's in the same place. It's always Wembley.
Yeah. Oh, you say about getting John Terry's shirt. You must have quite a big shirt collection. What other players have you swapped shirts with?
More or less, I have about 1,000 shirts. From England, I have one of Rooney when we play in Barcelona.
Yeah.
I have another one of John Terry. I love this one because it's number 6, and I play always with number 6.
Of course.
He was the captain. and I have another one of Crouch, Peter Crouch. And these are the 3 shirts that I have of the national team of England. But about big players, I have a lot. I have Shevchenko, Cristiano Ronaldo, Fernando Torres. I play for 24 years with the national team. I play against the best players of Europe, and I play against Brazil too. I have Bale, Robbie Keane, very important players of all the national teams. And one day I will try to open a museum.
Oh, wow.
The Andorra Football Museum, because I have all the history of our national team. I have the first shirt that was worn by Andorra football player in the first game, and until the last game I have all the shirts and shirts of the opponents, national teams. That's why one day I would like to open a museum.
Oh, well, when that museum opens, I'll be knocking on the door for that.
I wait for you.
Yeah, please do. You keep me posted. Obviously, Andorra, when the draw was made, maybe England fans have gone, "Oh, Andorra, that'll be an easy win," as England fans will probably admit to. I mean, how does it feel as a player when you're in a position that you are? As you say right at the very beginning of the conversation, that you lose a few games. How does it feel going into games in situations like that?
But it's a question that it's easy to understand. You have to know that we are in Andorra, just 30,000 people with passport. You have to play against countries like England that have millions of people, that have one of the most powerful championships around the world. And we have to try. We have to believe. We have that physically, tactically, and everything. We are our level is I don't know how to compare, but that they are stars and they are on the moon and we are on the earth. And we cannot arrive with our legs, we arrive with our heart. We feel, we play with the soul. We know that we are Andorra, that obviously we have to lose, but maybe one day something goes well for us and we try to win. And in our history it happened, because I think 5 years ago we win a game against Hungary that at the beginning of the match, obviously all the fans from Hungary national team, they thought that it was an easy win for them, and they lose.
Yeah.
3 years ago, we play in Istanbul and we lose 1-0 at the 88th minute. We tried for this. We know that the difference between us and the opponents is very big. Obviously, we can fight against Gibraltar, against San Marino, Liechtenstein, but the difference because between Andorra and other national teams is too big. But we know that we are Andorra. We know the difference. We play with our soul. We play for our country. And we are proud of everything that we do, because the difference between us and another national team like your national team is not 5-0 or 2-0 or 4-0. It's 100-0. Sometimes they have to try to play hard and to work to win us. And we are proud of that.
So do you think tournaments like the Nations League are helpful for teams such as Andorra, and you mentioned San Marino and the likes of Gibraltar and Liechtenstein? Do you think it's been beneficial by UEFA?
Yeah, because we need to play. Obviously, if we play with small teams, we have chances to win, to draw, to take points. Obviously, to grow as a country, we need important games like the game that will be played in Wembley, because, England, a lot of people will listen for first time in her lives that there is a country called Andorra. And it's good for us as a player to grow. If you play in Wembley, you can play everywhere. And I think that is not a problem for a national team like England play against an opponent that is not heavy and hard to win, like, Spain or other teams. Obviously, for the fans, they prefer to watch, a game against Brazil, England, Brazil, and Wembley, obviously. But I think that one time a year, a game against a national team like us is good for everyone. They have to enjoy, because because obviously Andorra it's a small country, and for us it's important to grow as a country and as a national team. To know that you are big. There are another small fishes in the sea. A shark have to eat other small fishes, and obviously National League is good for us because a few years ago when we didn't play qualifiers, it was difficult for us to find another national teams to play friendly games. Now they make a competition that big teams play between them, and we play with national teams where we can win games, and we need to this kind of games. Obviously, as I told you first, when you play against England, I prefer to play against England than against San Marino, because when you play against San Marino, you have to win yes or yes. When you play against England, you try to do your best, and everything that what happens, it's normal.
Yeah.
For me, it's easy to play against England than to play against San Marino.
Well, you mentioned San Marino.
I have nothing. I have nothing to lose if I lose against England.
Yeah,
if I lose against San Marino, it's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, San Marino is Andorra's next game, I believe, in the World Cup qualifiers. Obviously, in the group, there's ourselves, Poland, Hungary, Albania, and San Marino. So is San Marino the big game for you? And where do you see Andorran football at the moment? Do you feel you're getting better ever so slightly?
Yeah, obviously, the game against San Marino is our league. We have two games where we have a lot of chances to win, and there are the two games that we will play against San Marino. Obviously, they are thinking the same. They have two games where they can win, and are the two games against Andorra. We know we are two small countries. Our league is similar to the San Marino's league. I think at that moment we are one step in front of San Marino. But in these kinds of games, everything can happen. That's why for us, the important game will be the game against San Marino. The game against England, obviously, we will try to do our best as always. But it's a party for us. For not professional football players go to a stadium like Wembley. You have to enjoy. You have to enjoy the game. You have to enjoy at the end of the game when you show up the shirts. When I think about the game that I played 11 years ago, I have amazing feelings. I told to the young people that play with us when we play in big stadiums, I told always, mates, enjoy because maybe it's one time in your lives. And the game against England, it's too easy. It's everything easy.
Yeah. Okay, so the game coming up between England and Andorra, is there a player that plays for Andorra that the England fans should look out for, or someone that you think is recommended that you think can maybe go on to bigger and better things?
We have some young players that play as attackants that are young and are good players, because obviously they are good players in our level. Obviously, when they play against England, against Maguire, it will be easy for Maguire, I think. But they are young players, and we have no stars. We have all workers of football, and I think that is not a person. It's the team that you have to understand, and I think English people understand. We play with our soul. That is the thing that in this period, football players they haven't. They play for money. They play for to have 1 million of followers on Instagram, but we play for our country. We are proud of Andorra, very proud. We fight. The difference is too big, but we try to work hard to fight and to let the people and show to the people that this Andorra, they fight. They are I don't know the word in English, but they
proud.
Yeah, we are proud. We are proud of what we are, and this is the important thing. We work as a team. If my mate didn't arrive to the ball, I try to arrive. and we work all together. And this is the spirit of Andorra. If we lose this, then we are not Andorra. And for small teams, we have to work together, and obviously in that kind of games against a big opponent.
Yeah, it's great to try and understand that side of things. Just looking forward a little bit to October, when the return leg will be. Obviously, we don't know whether England supporters will be allowed to go to Andorra at the moment, but should they be allowed to go, what can England fans expect to see at the new Andorran ground, and what is there to see and do in Andorra?
It's a small stadium, just 3,000 people, with this artificial grass. I don't love artificial grass, but for a country like Andorra that we have just a few stadiums, there are a lot of teams that have to play the same stadiums. We have to play in this kind of grass. But the English people who have to come to Andorra, they have to enjoy. They have to know a country that is in the mountains, that it have a lot of nature, that you can come here in the winter and have an amazing places to ski. And in summer, it's a fantastic country with mountains, with lakes, with shopping. We have tax-free, and it's easy to buy something. And I hope that a lot of English supporters can will come to Andorra and enjoy our country. Obviously, they will see that it will be a party for our country to host a country like England, and I think that all the people have to enjoy the game and enjoy the football.
Yeah, well, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that we'll be able to make it across to you. And what about yourself now? What do you do? Are you still playing at any level, or what do you do?
I'm playing with the Inter Escaldes, that is the actual champion of Andorran League. We play champions qualifiers against. We win a game against the champion of Faroe Island, and then we lose against the champion of Kosovo, against Pristina.
Right.
And we were out of champions. Then we play Conference League, and we lose against the champions of Albania. We won in Albania, but we lose in Andorra, and we are out. And now we are training to start the season that will start at the end of September. We are in the pre-season. We didn't play a game, and we will play against San Marino, and 3 days later we will play against England, and will be difficult for us.
I didn't realise that the league hadn't started there. So your players will be going in really fresh.
Yeah. We don't know. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not good, but we are in the period of pre-season, and we will play. Our first game of the season will be the game against San Marino, and the second will be the game against England. You can imagine it will not be an easy start of the season.
No. Wow. Well, I wish you all the very best to yourself and to Andorra. And thank you very much for your time, Ildi, for telling us about Andorra. I wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to talk with you and explain our feelings, and I hope that the people can understand who we are and why we love to play football.
Right, let's welcome back to the Three Lions podcast with a look on Poland. They are our third opponents in this World Cup window. It's welcome back to Christopher Lash from Right Bank Warsaw website. Christopher, you all right?
Yeah, good. Everything's fine. Awaiting autumn.
Yeah, coming, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all right.
Poland. First of all, Euro 2020. It was all a bit of a disaster, I think, really, wasn't it?
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the big problem was the first game with Slovakia, really. I think that Krychowiak got sent off, and Poland probably were going to go on and win it, but then they lost that, and then after that it was all to they had it all to do. Pretty decent performance against Spain in general, really, and actually played pretty well. I mean, obviously, backs to the wall, but they did decently. Good goal by Lewandowski. And then the last game, it was, they had everything to do and they threw it, a lot of, they scored 2 goals against Sweden, which isn't easy, but they let in, so it was kind of a weird one. Paulo Sousa only took over briefly before the finals. And I don't think anyone knew what it was going to be like. And he was experimenting a little bit and it was all over the place. But at the same time, I think that people know that the squad, obviously Lewandowski's a brilliant player, but the squad's sort of mixed. So it was a weird reaction. Mixed. Some people were saying it was a disaster. Other people were sort of expecting it. So it was sort of a, and also I think people were surprised at how actually exciting at times Poland were to watch. So it was kind of a bit of obviously not a good, they didn't get out of the group, which is a major failure. But it was sort of up and down, really.
So they're prepared to give Sousa, cut him some slack then?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of our discussions about potentially, because now they've just, the Polish FA chairman is not, Boniek has gone, and now they've just elected someone else. He was in charge for 2 terms, Boniek, the famous star from the 80s and the 70s and 80s. And he, sometimes what happens is that when there's a new FA chairman, they want to bring their own man in. There is discussions about potentially bringing in the Russian manager, Cherchesov. But currently it looks all right. I think that, if these matches ahead are complete disasters, then maybe he might be removed. But, it's not a particularly difficult. I mean, the England game's not easy, but the other game's not that difficult. So I think that he'll probably be around until the next games. I don't know when the next games are. Actually, they're in November after this, or are they in the spring?
Well, there'll be the September games, there's October, and then November.
There's so many games. Yeah. What I think they might do is I hope that Poland will come at least second in the group. And then I suppose the decision would be really, unless Hungary is obviously potentially as well, then the decision will be whether they remove him and bring someone in for immediately, and then at least he's got a bit more time before the autumn World Cup or whatever it's going to be happening in 2022. So it's all a bit, it's a bit of a mess, but I'm relatively. I mean, I quite like the way that the attacking way they played. So I'm not. I came out of the tournament not being as disappointed as I thought I would be. Sometimes you watch a tournament, and your team's awful, and it just it's damp squib, and there's nothing, there's no movement, and you just depressing. I know, like England in 2000 or something like that.
Cool, yeah.
That kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And this wasn't like that. So, it wasn't great, but there were sort of some promising signs. So I personally would stick with Sousa for a while and just see what happens.
Yeah. Well, let's just cast our minds back to March time when it was the first round of the World Cup qualifiers, because at the moment, Poland find themselves in 4th place in the group. Okay, it's only for 3 games. You had the initial draw with Hungary, a win against Andorra, which, to be fair, is a given. And then the England game at Wembley, which went 2-1 in England's favour. I mean, Lewandowski scored in both the Hungary and the Andorra game. And then there was I don't know if you remember, there was all the sort of serial at the time that would Lewandowski play. There was a coronavirus issue. There was Bayern Munich saying that he couldn't travel because of the Poland thing. And then I think he was taken out because of a knee injury. But it appears he's now up and running. He's scored in plenty of Bayern's games up to when we've spoken now. I think you're going to be a different kettle of fish to that game at Wembley back in March.
Yeah, I mean, Lewandowski in general hasn't had that great a record against really against top class or opponents. He did score against Spain, which was important, and against Sweden he was good in the Euros. And he's just an excellent player. So I think that also Poland at home are very strong in general. So it's difficult to really predict how it's going to go, and England are tough opponents. But it's conceivable that Poland could sneak a victory. I mean, I know England never lose in the qualifiers anymore, but I think that probably this is England. Well, probably should be England's most difficult match of the group. And let's see. I'd be disappointed if Poland didn't get it. From a Polish perspective, get a draw at least in that game. I think that they should be able to get a draw, and I think they will really go for it. And I think that England will. The stadium. Well, again, currently, I think it's 50% you're allowed in, plus 50%, but plus 50% vaccinated. So it's a bit weird. So it means they'll only allow 50% unvaccinated, which it's all a bit confusing. But the point is that they also can't legally check if you're vaccinated because of Polish law. So that means lots of people are just saying they're vaccinated and going to stadiums. It's silly. They should either do 100% or 50% and not have this. So yeah, I'd imagine the stadium, again, things might change the next couple of weeks because Poland hasn't had the fourth wave that England had in June or July or whenever, when it got a bit worse in England. So that's coming definitely, because it's only the level here is 50% of all people vaccinated. So it's not like England, 70%. So what I'm saying is, I hope that hopefully there will be a good crowd in terms of from a Polish perspective, and I think that will put pressure on England. It's not like those famous old games when you played at Galatasaray or something like that, but 50,000 people all cheering on Lewandowski. It's a pretty intense experience, and I think that will have a bit of an impact on the England players. And I think that Poland hopefully can get a draw, maybe squeak a win. They also might lose, but I'm kind of
you're covering all bases.
Yeah, they'll go for it, and I think it'll be a decent game.
Yeah, I mean, with the the amount of supporters in there, it might be a similar scenario to the last time where England played over in Warsaw, where it was postponed by 24 hours, wasn't it? With the where they didn't close the roof, and there was the crowd the following day was a little bit less, wasn't it? I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bit of a farce. People complained about the FA not closing the roof and all that. It was a mess, but again, pretty very, very even game that Poland won, England won, and Poland could even have potentially nicked that as well. So I don't, England have a lot of good players. They could win, but I think that Poland really go for it. I think just looking at the fixtures, I think that if the only potential I think that could see sorts of sight obviously is if they don't, Poland don't get out of the group, but obviously, but not just that, they've got Albania at home first game of these three, and if Poland draw and play badly, then the knives could be out for him. But I think it should be a good game. I think that again, Lewandowski is very, very scored a lot of goals, home goals, not that many away goals. I think that he really will be going for it, and I think that England haven't got that much to worry about, because it's not that. I mean, no group is that difficult for England, but I think that. It'll be a good game.
Nice one, Christopher. Thank you very much. And you're on Right Back Warsaw, isn't it? It's the website.
Yeah, I'm not writing that much on it, but I'm active on Twitter a lot. So at Right Back Warsaw on Twitter. So that's where you mostly can find me.
Nice one. Thank you for your time. Cheers.
No worries.
That's it. Another episode in the can. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks to Tomasz Mortimer for the view on Hungary. Ildefons Lima Solà for telling us all about Andorra. 130 caps. Amazing. He's in the Guinness World Records as well, don't you know? And just as good, Christopher Lash from Right Bank Warsaw for the Poland aspects. Thank you very much to all those guys. Gutting that we can't go to either Hungary or Warsaw physically in the grounds. But if by chance you are taking the trip out to either of those, stay safe, enjoy it, have a beer for me. And I'll be back very soon with not only the review episode on these three games, but also the first in a two-part chat where I spoke with an England fan who tells me all about his England travels going back to 1988. I hope you can join me for that one. And in the meantime, don't forget, you can follow the podcast on social media, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. And also, if you get that moment, a review on the likes of iTunes, always welcome. So until the next time, let's hope for a successful international window. Cheers!